Hello, this is Running Robert, and today we're going to be talking about the Geron Corporation, GERN, third quarter 2024 summary. Today is the 8th of November, 2024, and the summary is going to be looking at the bullish and the bearish parts of the company. So I generally follow small cap pharma, which this used to be. I do games, I do a little bit of everything. So if you like what I'm doing, hey, please like and subscribe. It helps out a lot, and thank you. Disclaimer is currently I do not have any shares or options. I will explain why I have that position at the moment. A little bit later in the video. I'm an amateur investor, and any advice given should be followed up by your own due diligence, and any information given is valid for today, the 8th of November. This slideshow will not be updated, but as we get new news, new slideshows. So let's look at the report. So the revenue was $28.2 million, which is fairly positive for their first full quarter. The net loss came in a little more than $26 million, so it's not terrible. Operating guidance, they said that they're going to spend $260 to $270 million a year. So that is a little bit negative because we're really on track for 120, and obviously the operating guidance is a lot higher than that. We do have $542 million in cash, and this is where the important thing is. So they made two deals to make this happen. So the company took out a loan for $250 million. $125 million has already been drawn. Plus, there's an extra $125 million, which there's two options for it, or two parts for it. One can be drawn at Geron's options. They can just draw it. And then one is based on sales. But together, they equal $125 million. And then, of course, for $125 million, the company sold royalty payments on the U.S. net sales below $500 million at 7.75%. So this is a royalty deal. Nothing wrong with that. There's lower tiers as you get higher in cash or higher in sales. But we're just going to kind of stay with the 500 at 7.75. Clinical updates and EU approval. So potential EU approval in 2025, sales in 2026. EU rollouts are very sluggish and very slow. And I'll talk a little bit more about why that is later. So the phase 3 impact MF trial, 70% enrolled, on track for an interim analysis in 2026 and the final in 2027. So that's going to put approval in 2028, 2029. And then IMPRESS study, interim analysis done, full data in 2026. And that's really all they have. So there's other drugs in the pipeline, but at the moment, they're just too far away to really put any kind of value in. So we're just going to kind of have those to the side for a moment. So the thoughts on sales. So $28 million in revenue for the first full quarter is definitely a step in the right direction. Going forward, we're going to need to see how sales are, as this is most likely part of the initial stock up. So when a drug gets approved, all of the places want the drug. They want to have it available. So they buy it. They buy it in, fairly good quantities. Now, what happens is if the stock is successful, obviously they will be ordering a lot more often, and you'll see that in the sales report. What also could happen is that sales are sluggish and they might not need to buy anymore for a little bit. And then so you'll see it like a decrease in sales. So it's definitely like trying to get the right amount of stock up, or how happy to be about the 28 million, but being realistic, like we have to see how sales are going. So if sales go up, because they're at 28 million, I expect between 120, 150 million. That is very probably pessimistic, or very cautious is maybe a better word for it. And it's better probably to be a little bit more cautious than definitely gun-ho. So, and with expenses being 270 million, we could see a $150 million net loss. However, with 500 million in the bank, they have cash for 3+ years and probably longer depending on sales. I don't think next year we're going to be talking about 120 to 150 million. I think it's going to be more. And so we're going to see that net loss go down, and the company has so much money at the moment, it's perfectly fine. So very nice. What's next? So I will continue to check on sales every quarter. Otherwise, the stock, unfortunately, is going to be fairly boring until the data points in 2025, 2026, and then the 2026, 2027. So that is going to really kind of just put a damper on the year. We're going to get one interim maybe in 2025, but then nothing else. So it's just really going to be focused on sales. Okay, now as I said before, EU sales have been poor for several US companies. So it's going to be interesting to look at that. So we might not see significant sales until 2030. Wow, that was a mouthful. So the EU rollout is a lot different. We get approval. And then we have to talk to each country to negotiate price and all that kind of stuff. And then it's on the market. So it really makes it very difficult to get a good, strong traction of sales to begin with, because it'll only be approved in Italy or, in Germany and the UK. And then next year it's going to be France. And it's not like the US where the whole country gets it at the same point. You're going to have just individual, and I'm going to put in quote, states get them. So it would be kind of like if all of a sudden, Virginia got approval and then Massachusetts and then New York, like you're not going to see as many sales going forward as quickly as you would like. So I've said a lot. I'm going to break down the final few statements here. So the company believes this could be a $1 billion drug by itself. At the moment, I put the range in 200 million to 1.2 billion, which is quite wide, I know. This is for a single indication. The second indication is about the same size at the moment. And we will be able to kind of like get that number into a much tighter range when we start to see sales coming in. Larger companies, BMS and Merck, which have drugs in the market, will of course try to hold down the sales by offering discounts, ramping up marketing, because in all honesty, they're not going to let another company take away massive sales. And that's just the truth of it. Like, you can't really say much about that. However, if patients can start the treatment and it works for them, that's definitely going to increase patient use and doctor use. And the company will get a bump in sales to start, as they'll have a host of patients who have already gone through both treatments available. So that is going to be kind of big, because that whole pool of patients who it did not work, this is their next option. So again, I don't know if we're going to be able to achieve first-line status for it. So overall, it was a solid quarter. The company has primed itself for the long term, and if sales start developing in the higher range, we could see some movement up. However, if sales stay stagnant, we do have another chance to add another indication in 2027, 2028, which is about the same. So it maybe is delayed, but again, we just don't know at the moment. But I believe this is a solid stock. But unless we see huge increases in sales, I believe the stock price will stay pretty solid. And that's why I have not invested in it at the moment. Now, if you're like, hey, I'm going to invest in the stock and I'm going to hold it for 10 years, it's a good stock. It's probably going to be a pretty safe stock. If you're looking to do a lot of trading and trying to catch momentum, it's not so much. This is going to be probably a stock that steadily goes up, but you never see any kind of major move for it. So at the moment, that's why it's more fun to cover than invest. But yeah. So hopefully all this helps you get some information. Thank you very much for watching and listening, and I hope you have a wonderful day.